Welcome to Truth and Transparency. My name is Lana and I will be your host today and all days. Hello to everybody. Thank you guys for joining. Again, gonna give people a chance to get in. Yes, guys, I'm here. It's really sunny. The sun is coming out. Again, hello to Gypsy and B, Bumblebee, all my mods. They're the best. You can't forget them. They are the best. Hello, Heather. Miss Wilson, Mrs. Wilson, whatever you go by, thank you. Lana, your common sense and intelligence combined are so far off the charts that most don't understand or comprehend your thought process. Please tell it to the people I date. Steel City, Amy, hello. I love Tiny Dancer. What's up? There she is, Susie. I swear I did not block you or delete your comments. So. Okay, everybody. Hopefully we're doing well as we can. I started this early because you guys should know that I am not a YouTuber. I don't claim to be a YouTuber. I use YouTube as a platform for my Fight for Our Family position, my nonprofit, to push for getting cases in counties and states, whatever it may take to get something on a national or even a state level. So I do appreciate you guys bearing with me. Thank you, Susie, for realizing that. Tracker 3, first time here. Well, hey, welcome the virgins. The virgins are always welcome. So here we go. I started early because I'm going to try to do something, and I figured, like, let me give myself a little gap here. Appreciate your comments. So here we go. I want to share. Let's see if I can do this right. Okay. So I've done a video before, and let's see if it works.
This is Tragedy Pimps with your host here, Lana Oriani. What is a tragedy pimp?
Okay,
perfect.
Okay, perfect. So I am doing this in the beginning here to make sure that we're clear about this. Going live to talk about the quote unquote, if you want to say breaking news or not, in terms of Gabby's autopsy. It is one thing to have a live discussion about the information that is going to be coming across all of our screens here momentarily from the coroner. It is another thing to what I call quote unquote tragedy pimping. And so I want to be very clear here that going live to have a discussion with able adults that can speak on the facts, not attack other human beings, no matter anybody's stance. How about this? We are entitled to our opinion, but what you are not entitled to is hate speech, period. Hate speech will not be tolerated. So if you don't like me, I have no idea why you don't like me because I never met you. But if you don't agree with my opinions or the way that I carry myself in terms of trying to stick to the facts, you have that right to your opinion, but I will not allow myself to be hated on. And my mods have always done a fabulous job of not only protecting, myself, my son, my family, but even if you're a creator that maybe I'm not too fond of, my mods have always gone above and beyond to make sure that that type of talk doesn't happen in chat. So with that being said, I did a video before I did my Tragedy Pimp Live.
Features one-time felon, now a glorified self-proclaimed YouTube sensation, Natasha Cooper, with Natasha Cooper.
And the reason that I wanted to show that clip there is false information, and I'm going to state this real quick, real fast, and it is in maybe a sentence or two. That video came from the words used by Natasha Cooper as she spoke of myself and other creators in an episode that she did not just once, but for many months, carrying on ridiculously. With that being said, let's keep our focus on today is the autopsy. I'm hoping that we get the questions answered that we may have. But I believe the family should always come first, and therefore I do believe that the coroner would have consulted with obviously officials / the family in terms of what they wanted out to the public. So with that said, thank you, Canadian Mama. Yes, I do believe that my mods are the best. They are very good friends of mine. They are moms like myself. They're amazing. I love it. I love the friendships that I have, and that they can be objective, not emotional, and kind. I mean, above all, kind. What is up, A for Advocate? I love you too, girl. I hope that things are going well out there in the West Coast land that you live in. So, all right, let's go ahead and see if I can be extra special, because I was practicing, guys. I don't know how I was able to practice, but I was practicing. Let me see if I can bring in so we can watch. Who do you guys prefer to watch? What channel? Because a bunch of people are going to be streaming this in terms of your media stations. I'll leave it to you guys. What channel would you prefer? Let's see here. Hello, Jackie, Gina. Again, anybody that's new, we do appreciate you being here. You could be a lot of places, and you're choosing to be here. So I think that says something. Again, I usually try to just say check your emotions at the door. The thing that you really want to do is focus on the facts. So let's focus on the facts. Anybody have a preference here? I don't see anybody talking about their preference of what we watch. Hello there, Delaney. Delaney, I'm going to need you to get a membership. I mean, come on now. Support your girl over here. Delaney, by the way, did a fabulous job in the mock trial that I had for the Watts case. And I always try to make sure that I say thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. When I'm scrolling up and down the comments, okay, there we go. So are we going to go with, yep, I got a couple of these. WFLA now. Okay, we're going to go there. We'll go that route. We'll see what happens. WFA now. Here we go. All right.
Also, too, we don't know now. Let me read this again. Let's all be very, very responsible here in the wording of this indictment. And by such conduct obtained things of value,
Oh, shit.
$1,000 or more during the period of August 30th to September 1st. So this is a 2-day period where the indictment states that the defendant here, Brian Christopher Laundrie, made purchases, obtained things of value aggregating to $1,000 or more. So what that means is purchasing more. It wasn't a single thing that was purchased. Things of value that aggregate, lead, the summation more than $1,000.
We also know from the release from the FBI that this was about following the death of Gabby Petito, right? This happened following the death of Gabby Petito, and we know the dates on there are the 29th and the 30th, right? So does that sort of narrows down when they suspect Gabby Petito was killed? And this news release that we have from Wednesday, actually, but I'm just referring to some dates. The FBI was seeking information from anyone who utilized the Spread Creek dispersed camping area between August 27th and the 30th. So that seems to be the point, though those 3 days to potentially the 27th and 28th, since he used these devices or these credit cards. He got this money, 29th.
30th and 1st.
30th and
What
1st.
is up? Again, Nikki.
The only thing that
Hello,
does not
Mike
make
Java
sense
Mama,
there,
Gina.
obviously, is he's back here on the 1st.
This is
What did he-
pre-recorded.
What did he
Could the crimes have occurred?
So let me go with what I want to go
The crimes
with.
have occurred across state lines in multiple jurisdictions, and it's being handled by the District of.
Lana, yes, yes, yes.
That's what we were on, so let's see here.
Crime and
Give me a second here. I am fixing it all for you guys. Hold on one second. All right, here we go. Let's try this.
This could be now the beginning here of the search. Again, there could have been a time set. Let's all meet at the Carlton Reserve here at this time. We'll have our meeting here at this time, and then we'll actually start walking or driving around the grounds here at this time. Maybe noon. It's 11:55 Eastern right now. Could noon be the start time of the search efforts? It's
So this
there
isn't live
is a,
either.
You know,
None
the
of this is
FBI by
live.
the book, and of course they have a plan in place for each and every day. And there's of course a strategy that is executed, and we might see that strategy kind of play out in real time here from Eagle 8 HD. Ashley Renee, hashtag AJB. The FBI wouldn't ask his father to be there unless they know something, right? I don't think they'd let him interfere with their investigation otherwise. You know, Ashley, I don't know if you would say it's
American news is weird. Whoa. Let's see here. All right, here we go. We got it.
Doing it this way, we can allow everybody filing in here to listen to the very first words from Dr. Brent Blue, as I understand it,
Dr.
right?
Brent Blue, the Teton
Yep.
County Coroner. I just want to say Masa listed off a lot of great questions, but JB, as you know, this is going to be watched by reporters here in the Florida
Recording in
area,
progress.
the New York market, nationally. Obviously, any reporters out there in Wyoming,
Recording stopped.
that part of the country.
Hold on one second there, Justin. I just want to, okay. No, I was just listening in. I'm sorry, continue. I was just listening in some of the Zoom chatter here because the Zoom call is getting launched.
All right, here we go.
And you'll
Let's
see
go.
There'll be reporters from, again, like I just said, all across the country, national outlets from New York. Obviously, we're watching closely here.
There it is. I mean, for what it's worth, it's just any other Zoom call, but we'll be watching this very, very closely.
Clap
here.
it up,
Sorry,
Ann.
Justin,
This is
continue.
probably going to be the most watched moment since when the FBI came out the day they found her body. I mean, we all remember watching that press conference, JB, and how the emotion you saw in the FBI agents when he announced the remains were found consistent with her description. Obviously, today's a little bit different, doing it a Zoom call again, like I
Thank
said,
you.
because you have media from across
Canadian
the country
Mama,
that's
thank you.
closely been following this story
Whoopsies.
in New York, where she's from, Long Island.
Communication that I have had with the Petito and with the Schmidt family is that, that this isn't that they have received this information ahead of time. That this isn't something that they are.
Yeah,
gonna be
I would
watching
agree with
and
that.
Learning here as well, as you would expect, and that's not uncommon in law enforcement. Of course, they're going to give a family information and. For you, and there's some folks that have been emotionally impacted by this story. If this is distressing for you, you don't have to watch. You can believe me, the headline will be all over the place later, and all the information, all the quotes will.
$45,000. We're adding 35 people to it. Yes, this should start at in about 15 minutes, not even 12, 13. Okay, so they're going to talk about the key dates here. This is important. No sound. There's definitely sound.
For one
Oh,
night,
there we
we've
go.
obviously seen the body camera footage, which was also difficult to watch, JB, just seeing how distraught and worked up Gabby was in that situation. We
I'm
later
enjoying the
confirmed
quiet.
From the Laundrie family attorney, Stephen Bertolino, that from August 17th to the 23rd, Brian actually
You guys
flew
should have your
back
sound
here to
back.
Florida. We know also from court documents piecing the timeline together, August 27th, that is the last day, sadly, that Gabby Petito was seen. And when we did the press conference a few weeks ago, JB, they said between August 27th and August 30th, that was when the FBI was still looking for witnesses who may have seen the couple at the Bridger Teton National Forest, where her body was later found. September 1st, that is the day Northport police tell us that Brian Laundrie returned to his family's home there in Northport. The van license tag was picked up on a license plate reader in the morning coming back into the city. So piecing the timeline, JB, September 6th through the 7th, we know the Laundrie family had a camping reservation.
Jamie,
Fort
sneak
DeSoto Park.
those,
It was about 75
definitely
miles
sneak
north of the family
those
home in Pinellas County. We've talked a lot
headphones,
about that visit,
earbuds with you.
Who knew what and when the family went camping there. Then September 11th, JB, that's when this really started to become a major story when Nicole Schmidt reported her daughter missing to police in in Suffolk County, New York. We know 8 days later, JB, September 19th, the remains of Gabby Petito were found in the Bridger Teton National Forest. 2 days later, the medical examiner ruled this a homicide and positively identified her remains. And here we are today in mid-October, JB, waiting to see what more we learn about how sadly this young woman died.
Again, that full timeline is on WFLA.com. And also, too, shout out to some of the folks on social media, the Gabby Petito subreddit on Reddit. They have assembled a really accurate timeline there as well. I mean, community members coming together here to piece together the timeline here, because the more that we have on the timeline, the more we have an idea as to what happened here with Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie there on their cross-country road trip and what went wrong. So let's explain how this is going to work here, folks. We're currently live in 3 places: WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and WFLA's YouTube page. Let's just get an updated audience count. So we're live for about 60,000 or so people on YouTube here. How this is going to work here is we are going to, in a moment here, begin the Facebook live stream so that we're live across all the platforms that we would be live on. I believe that our team here as well behind the scenes is also activating a Twitter live stream here as well. And what we're going to do is, of course, we're going to continue to get closer to 2:30 Eastern. And when the presser is over, when the Zoom call is over, we're still here with you live to kind of discuss what we have learned and where we go from here and how this impacts things going.
And what I will be doing is when after the Zoom is over, I will be ending, because if you guys want to go watch them, you can, but we're going to have our own discussion.
Coroner. But what we're going to do now here, everybody, we're going to take a 60-second break, and this allows us to bring in our WFLA Now Facebook Live audience back in 60 seconds here on WFLA Now.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily.
I know last night we had some questions about what to expect the coroner to talk about or release. I believe that there's going to be 2 people present in the Zoom. I believe that he is going to have his assistant there. I know that I would if I was in his shoes. I'll be surprised if he does not. Again, please be respectful. All comments are welcomed. And this is truth and transparency, keeping it real. Emotions checked at the door. Probably, Nikki, probably. What's up, Boston? I'm glad that you could sneak away. I only try to mute it when there's, nothing really going on.
We are moments away from answers. Answers in the homicide of Gabby Petito, the 22-year-old who was found dead in Wyoming after her fiance returned home to Florida from a cross-country road trip without her and then vanished off the face of the earth. Hey there,
and I think the
JB,
question is why did he return the first time without her? Nobody's talking about that. Nobody is talking about
here, your NBC station 8
why did he return home the first time without her? He didn't just come home once without her. He came home twice without her, but nobody wants to talk about that.
Speaking of platforms engaging a new digital audience here now, hello to our Facebook Live audience here. We're now officially live on all platforms. And Justin, we are now about 6.5 minutes away from the scheduled start time of the Teton County Coroner calling a press conference, Dr. Brent Blue, to announce an autopsy ruling in the homicide death of 22-year-old Gabby Petito.
Like we've been talking about, JB, this is kind of unexpected. We know this remains a federal FBI investigation at this point. I have my Twitter notifications set in case the FBI Denver office were to put any additional information out. But at this point, this is the coroner's office in Teton County, Wyoming, coming out to reveal whatever his office was able to uncover through the examination of Gabby Petito's body after her
Again,
death.
please keep those
Like we
emotions
talked about
checked
some
with
key dates
comments.
leading up to today. September 11th, that Saturday evening, her mom reported her missing to the police.
Again,
in New
thank you
York.
all mods for
8
being
days
here,
later, JB, they found
and
her
all
body
of
in
our
the Bridger Teton
subs
National
and
Forest
members.
on the eastern boundary of the Grand Teton Range there. And then 2 days later, this coroner's office told us this is a homicide, but the cause of death was not released at this time. And here we are now on October 12th, eagerly awaiting this press conference at 2:30 Eastern time.
So I get home last night, and it was my turn to cook. And I'm in my kitchen, and I'm literally I was saying this to our YouTube audience here a short time ago. I'm literally chopping carrots, and my phone just goes crazy. With of course the announcement that the Teton County Coroner has called a press conference for an autopsy ruling, that it was going to be held via Zoom.
And it's the most
And
important
I
question,
couldn't-
and nobody
I could
ever
not
wants to
believe
talk
it
about
just
the most
because of
important
amount of
questions.
Federal experts, law enforcement experts that have said repeatedly over and over again that they don't expect there to be a cause of death, or they expect to be a press conference in the Teton.
They pretty much have no choice at this point, because I believe they may be asking for some help.
And I was trying to wrap my brain around. I have some notes here that I'm going to read here for our audience here, as we're, again, about 5 minutes away from 2:30 when that press conference is set to begin. So here, we'll show that to you here live here, folks. Dr. Brent Blue standing by here. This is the Zoom call there.
Here is the Zoom.
In the way bottom left-hand portion of your screen here, you can see that he's on mute, just waiting for the top of the half hour here to get underway. We are also
So we're
live
gonna
here for you,
probably start
folks,
here in 5
from-
minutes.
yes, outside of the laundry home here. We do not know what kind of reaction that there's going to be here in the aftermath of this press conference here. Keeping a close eye here, of course, on outside of the laundry home here in Northport, Florida. But as I was thinking about this, Justin, I was thinking about this a lot last night, and here's basically what I came to. I came to a conclusion that there has been
What's this conclusion?
one constant throughout this entire story.
What is it?
With Gabby Petito, with Brian Laundrie.
What is it?
With him being missing, with her homicide. And the one constant is this. It's to expect the unexpected at every turn. At every turn. The reason why this story has drawn the international audience that it has, in my opinion, of course, is
Expect
Gabby,
the unexpected.
But also because at every turn, just strange oddities occur.
What are they?
Expect the unexpected.
What's
And here's
strange?
what I mean by that as
Okay,
far as
good.
this entire process, okay? Brian Laundrie returns home September 1st without his fiancée after a cross-country road trip across the country, and he returns home to Florida in her van.
Okay, see, this is not true, guys. This is not accurate.
Try to read.
He returned home in a plane first.
Where's Gabby? And they don't return their phone calls.
Wow.
Don't return their text messages. They cannot get a hold of Chris, Roberta, and Brian Laundrie. Unexpected. Police say they know where Brian Laundrie is in that press conference. Northport police say we know where he is. And then
The next day, reported
vanishes.
Yep.
He vanishes, or he
Wait, but-
vanished at that
Reported-
point.
Yeah,
But they did know where he was. He went hiking. He never came home.
Public and the media on the front lawn that night, when it was just a complete
Wow.
zoo there on the front lawn between media and people in the Northport community. That too was unexpected. Chris and Roberta Laundrie not asking publicly for help. To
Wow.
find their
How
son,
do you-
not
what?
having that emotional press conference, asking the public, please help us find Brian. That was
Wow.
unexpected. Cassie Laundrie coming out of her home to confront demonstrators and then doing interviews, and she's the only one within the family that has been vocal. That too unexpected.
And guys, this is who's covering. This is who is covering what you're listening to. This is who's covering the news. Wow. This is not how I would handle it, but
Weird
that's
and
fine.
Unexpected was that. Chris Laundrie joining
Yes,
the search
dog is
recently
out
and
with
going to
a
Carlton Reserve
ankle
and-
injury. He
and
will not be
being
in
there
Game
for about 2
7.
to 3 hours. That was also unexpected. And now, so I'm thinking about this last night. Again, I'm chopping carrots, if you can picture that in my kitchen, and get
Did you cut
another
yourself?
just unexpected turn of events here. Expect the unexpected with this story, which is why we have no idea really what we're gonna learn here in this press conference from Dr. Brent Blue here live via Zoom here in
Why aren't we talking about the fact that he's only how many autopsies has Dr. Brent Blue actually performed? Does anybody know? I do. I can raise my hand and I can answer that question. Does anybody?
The family has been notified before Dr. Brent Blue goes public. Whatever findings he will release to us today. So I did want to mention that to our new viewers here.
I mean, guys, how many
from this highly anticipated
autopsies has Dr. Brent Blue,
from,
performed?
Teton County, Wyoming. But yeah, JB, it's been really, we spent a lot of time the last few weeks kind of piecing together this timeline, not just leading up to the 27th when Gabby was last seen, but also that 11-day window. JB,
Hello, Shannon. And actually, I want to talk to you later because
trip that has drawn a lot of scrutiny. Who knew?
I heard there was nasty things being said to you and about your family, and I'm not a fan of that. And I'm here for you, Shannon. So hopefully you're doing okay. Just want to let you know that we here at Truth and Transparency are behind you, Shannon, and your family.
Bertolino has said that he doesn't represent her, and she's come out, like you said way more than the parents have said.
Well, in Wyoming, 13 homicides in 2019, 13 homicides in 2019 in Wyoming. In Florida, 1,100, 1,400.
About the autopsy of this 22-year-old woman who by now the world knows her name after sadly she vanished and her body was located in that forest in Wyoming.
So I want to repeat this because we've now, I think, tripled our audience here, and I want to make sure that everybody is aware of this. So of course, by now people know that I've been in contact with Gabby Petito's family. This is not going to be new news to them. They're not going to be watching this and learning like the rest of the world. This is, of course, and that's not unexpected. That's not unexpected.
And that's what I said, guys, is that this is going to be out of respect for the family. There's nothing here that's going to be,
Justin will come back here after
this, unless the coroner goes off of, something.
They're about to unmute.
Here we go.
We'll watch for your hashtag HJB, hashtag HJustin comments here, and we'll have your reaction and discuss how this impacts Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie going forward here live on WFLA Now after the Teton County press conference here gets concluded.
He can't. There's no value. As soon as he unmutes, everybody's going to be able to hear
right
him.
now here, folks, we understand this is Dr. Brent Blue. If you look
it is him.
there in the bottom left-hand portion of your screen, you will see that mute icon. People who are very Zoom savvy know that he has not unmuted himself here yet. So perhaps waiting just another moment here, but when he and I think he's now going to be muted or unmuting himself here in a moment. And you'll see some of the chat come in here as well. It's again just a raw Zoom call, but really, again, we're all listening here for the autopsy.
Thank you all for joining us. I am Dr. Brent Blue, Teton County, Wyoming coroner. After a detailed investigation by our forensic pathologist, our anthropologist, and local law enforcement, with assistance from the FBI, the Teton County Coroner Office is filing the following verdict in the death of Gabrielle Lenora Petito. We hereby find the cause and manner of death to be the cause, death by strangulation, and manner is homicide. By Wyoming state statute, no other information will be released about the autopsy. The only thing that is released in the state of Wyoming is cause and manner of death.
I think they said they can't hear you. Just 1 second.
Yeah, this is Dr. Brent Blue.
Start over then? Thank you for joining us. Sorry about the audio issue. I'm Dr. Brent Blue, Teton County, Wyoming coroner. After a detailed investigation by our forensic pathologist, our anthropologist, and local law enforcement, with assistance from the FBI, the Teton County Coroner's Office is filing the following verdict. In the manner of death of Gabrielle Lenora Petito, We find the cause and manner to be cause death by strangulation and manner is homicide. By Wyoming state statute, only the cause and manner of death are released. Their autopsy findings and photographs and that sort of material is not released by state statute. And I'll be glad to entertain some questions at this time.
Let's hear what these questions are going to be.
Hi, Brian. This is Alex with the News and Guide. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm curious whether you're able to pinpoint a date of death and when, and if you know whether or when Gabby's remains will be returned to her family.
The remains have been returned to the mortuary here, and the mortuary is dealing with the family at this time as far as the disposition of the remains. As far as the time of death, we are estimating 3 to 4 weeks from the time that the body was found.
Wow, he announced it.
That is actually determined more by law enforcement folks than than our office.
3 to 4 weeks.
Chris, Vivian, you are able to ask your question.
What's the question? I didn't hear a question.
Chris, I believe that you are muted. If you can unmute yourself.
Okay, it's John Walsh from In Pursuit with John Walsh on Discovery ID. Dr. Blue, thank you for your time. I think everybody in the world believes that Brian Laundrie killed Gabby.
Wow.
With your extensive work on the body, are you sure that it's Brian Laundrie? And will the FBI issue a nationwide homicide warrant now that they know the cause of death?
Wow.
We are only tasked with the determination of cause and manner of death. Who committed the homicide is up to law enforcement, and I cannot answer the question about the FBI. You would have to contact them.
Wow.
Jeremy Kopis, you are now allowed to ask your question.
Yes, hello, doctor. If you could, please, can you comment on any other bruising, maybe on the body that possibly was healing, possibly older bruises or cuts that might have been healing over the last couple of weeks before her passing?
By Wyoming state statute, no other information about the autopsy is released, just the cause of death.
Hi there, this is Heather Lee, a reporter at ABC Action News in Tampa, Florida. I just wanted to know if you could explain why it took about a month for this process to finish. I think a lot of people were hoping that they would learn this information sooner, so I just think
well,
if you
clearly
could just
the family
explain
did
the process and why it took a month.
Well, the main reason was that we were very exacting in our examination and the detail by which that examination was done. We were waiting for various specialists to come in and help us with this investigation. We were waiting on toxicology to be returned, and it was just a matter of making sure we had everything right.
Thank you.
We can go off of what they say. Phone records will prove that.
Brian Enton, I believe you're unmuted right now.
I have a question. Can I get in there? Was there any physical evidence that you obtained while doing the homicide as far as like the
Steve
I would ask
Fabian
about fingernails.
Yes, hi doctor, how are you? I am curious if any DNA samples
were
taken from Gabby's remains, and also if the body was intact, are you able to tell us the condition of Gabby's remains?
I can tell you the DNA samples were taken by law enforcement, and all I can tell you about remains is that the body was outside for 3 to 4 weeks.
The body was outside for 3 to 4 weeks.
Chris Vivian, do you have your hand up?
Hands up.
Was that a question? I didn't hear the question.
There is DNA.
Yes.
It's John Walsh again. From
Oh,
In
God.
Pursuit with John Walsh. You will probably be the most important witness at the trial.
100%.
And I asked you before how confident you feel that Brian Laundrie, and they use this semantics. He was a person of interest. I'm old school. He was the only suspect.
There was no
ever.
suspect.
And I just wonder, you're going to be the most important guy at the trial, probably.
Wow.
Do you have any doubts it's Brian Laundrie?
Wow. He can't talk about this.
I can't make any comment about
What the fuck is going on?
Suspects, because we are not involved in that part of the investigation. We are only
Somebody needs to
involved
turn it up for
in
Mr. Walsh. Maybe he doesn't have his hearing aids in.
of the deceased. So who committed the homicide is really to be determined by law enforcement.
Right, but I thank you for your hard work, and I always say in so many cases
Wow.
I've been involved in, let the pathologist and the coroner do their work no matter how long it takes. So I think you've probably done a really good job on this case. Thank you for your time.
Wow. I mean, I have no words for what. I mean, this is unprecedented. Wow.
Hey there, doctor. This
Why
is
are they still letting him
Charlotte
talk?
with ABC Action News in Tampa. Just a quick question. Can you kind of walk us through the process to how you arrived at this specific manner of death?
In the state of Wyoming, there are 4 possibilities for the manner of death.
Great
They
question.
are homicide, suicide, accident, and natural. And those are the 4 choices. When we do an investigation, we look at the crime scene or the scene of the death, the scene of the body, the condition of the body, and findings at autopsy and toxicology. And that is how we arrive at the manner of death. So it's
So you had a
it really
1 in
depends
4
on
opportunity
lots of
here.
different circumstances.
Dr. Stephen Fabian again from Inside Edition. Can you tell us if the body was buried when it was discovered?
Thank you.
Or it was, if
Great
the
question.
body was on the surface?
I can't tell you that. That's would be something you'd have to ask the FBI.
There you go, guys. There you go. He can't answer that. He can't answer that. That is very important. I said that it was partially concealed. And I'm going to stand by that. And which would help them determining the cause of death. You can't conceal yourself after you're dead.
Do you have a question, Kelly Vaughn? We have Brian Enting in the chat who has a question. What's your question, Brian? Was there any impact on her body from weather or wild animals in the national park?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Was there any impact on her body from weather or wild animals in the national park?
All I can really comment about that is that her body was outside in the wilderness for 3 to 4 weeks.
That's going to be that there is some mutilation by the wilderness.
ASL assignment? You were unmuted. KSL assignment?
Hello, Dan Rascone here from KSL TV in Salt Lake. Dr. Blue, can you tell us at all whether or not was it believed that she was murdered there at that location, or
Great
is there any
question.
indication that her body was drugged there or taken there, or can you give us any indication there?
I can't comment on that. That would be something you.
Great question. Great question, because I believe that they don't know that. could Gabby's body have been placed there after she was strangled in, let's say, a van or at a hotel?
Matthew Sella? Matthew Sella, do you have a question?
Hey, Dr. Blue. It's actually Jimmy from DailyMail.com in New York here. What were the results of the toxicology report?
Thank you.
Is there any suggestion that Gabby had any drugs in her system, and if so, what were they?
The results of the toxicology are not public knowledge by Wyoming Institute, so I can't comment about that.
Thank you.
We have a question from the chat. Was Gabby Petito pregnant?
Whoa.
She was not pregnant.
There it is. Gabby Petito not pregnant.
Thomas Tope?
Hi, doctor. My question, did you seek the advice of a forensic entomologist or forensic botanist during the course of your investigation?
The FBI has sent materials to a forensic entomologist.
Correct.
WPBF 25 News?
Hi, doctor. This is Terry Parker from WPBF in Palm Beach County, Florida. I'm wondering if you said you were very thorough in this autopsy and examination. Could you give us an example of the type of test and analysis you performed?
This autopsy included a whole body CAT scan, a examination by a forensic pathologist, an examination by a forensic anthropologist, and toxicology evaluation. So we pretty much covered all the bases.
Jeremy Kopis?
Yes, doctor, thank you for taking the question again. You mentioned that strangulation is the cause of death. Can you talk about how you came to that conclusion?
Great question.
I cannot. That is part of the autopsy findings, and it's
Great
not,
question.
Discoverable by Wyoming statute.
Was there any other cause of death that was a possibility in this case?
Well, we look at all causes, all possibilities when we try to determine cause of death, but this is the cause of death that we determined.
I have a question from chat. It is, was the manner of death obvious? Strangulation marks, bones, injured neck.
Bones. Talking about injuries.
Nothing is obvious in a situation like this, so detailed analysis was used both to determine manner and cause of death. I can't go into details on how we made those decisions.
But you will at trial, and that's what's going to be very, very important.
Thorne?
Yes, hi, Doctor. Kristen Thorne with WABC in New York. Could you just please repeat about how long you believe the body was out there? Unfortunately, the last time you spoke, you just didn't get a good film shot of you saying that. Would you mind repeating that?
Our initial determination is the body was in the wilderness for 3 to 4 weeks.
Thank you.
Jorge Fitzgibbon? You have to unmute.
I would like to ask a question.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon, Dr. Blue.
Were there multiple DNAs
relating
present?
Back to the date of death, is there a date listed on the death certificate?
Great question.
The death certificate has not been completed at this time, and the death certificates of the state of Wyoming allow for approximate dates, variability in those dates. So I doubt, well, there will not be an exact date of death on the death certificate.
Eileen with News 12.
Hi, doctor. This is Eileen LaPalmer from News 12. We sort of asked it a little bit, but is there a way that you can explain how you know that it was strangulation? Sometimes I know that a hyoid bone could be missing. Is that something that you discovered in this case?
I can't comment on that because it would be a finding of the autopsy. And as I stated before, in the state of Wyoming, the autopsy results are not public knowledge.
So then you can't clarify whether it was manual strangulation or with an item, correct?
That's correct.
Oh, so now but I don't think that's what he said. I thought he said in the beginning that it was manual strangulation. Somebody needs to roll back film, but I believe he said that the manner of death was manual strangulation.
Thanks for making time for us, doctor. Was the entire examination conducted at your
Which
lab in
manual
Jackson,
still could
or
be
was
with an
Gabby
object
Petito's
when you
body,
strangled her.
shipped
I
to
mean,
another
but
facility?
The examination was done entirely at our ward in Teton County, Wyoming.
Anna Greg.
Where are the protesters?
Gregorio. It's actually Ashley Banfield with News.
Ashley
Nation.
Banfield.
Doctor, thank you for taking the time today. Can I ask you if, from the very beginning of your process, was it obvious that the cause, not the manner, that the cause was strangulation and that you just needed this time to prove it out? Or were you completely unaware from the beginning what the cause of death was for Gabby Petito and had to resolve through a number of puzzle solving manners and other experts to arrive at that final cause determination?
In a situation like this, nothing is obvious. And so the cause of death required investigation.
We have a William Walkie.
Hey there, Dr. Blue.
Well, let's see if Ashley gets two calls in like John Walsh.
Community Radio here in Jackson. You're a small town coroner here in Western Wyoming. This case got so much national attention, as we can see right now. Can you speak on what it was like doing your job with such a big spotlight on you? Thanks.
Well, it was quite the media circus and continues to be. Unfortunately, this is only one of many deaths around the country of people who are involved in domestic violence. And it's unfortunate that these other deaths do not get as much coverage as this one. I'm assuming that because the deceased was a blogger, that this received more coverage than others. But there are a lot of both men and women who have lost their lives that aren't covered with this kind of media attention.
Francis DeFiore.
Yes, hello. This is Francis DeFiore from the Port Charlotte Sun. I just want to go back to my previous question, although I imagine your response. Is there anything you can tell us about how exactly you determined it was a 3 to 4 week period before death?
I can't go into that kind of information at this time.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Folks, this is JB Buno on WFLA Now. We're going to go back to the Zoom call here in just a second. We do have an update from the attorney of Brian Laundrie. Stephen Bertolino has issued a statement that's coming up here next.
Question, then.
We have the Snack Squad.
Hey, this is Andy Mercado from Mercado Media. Could you go over the length of time the autopsy report took? And thank you for your time, Dr. Blue.
Well, the length of time was involved in the sense that we received a report from the investigating and examining forensic pathologist. We had a report done by our anthropologist, and we had toxicology studies that were done in addition to the report from the radiologic studies. So all these came together, and that's what took time for us to complete this investigation.
Hi, doctor. Could you speak to the state of decomposition, and did that at all hinder your investigation?
No, I can't comment on that.
Dr. Blue, would you like to take any more questions?
Unless there's other specific questions that haven't been answered already, why don't we close this? And thank you all very much for your participation. And I can tell you that I will not be answering any other detailed questions about the autopsy. As I said, state statute prevents us from doing that. So contacting me by email and phone is not going to reveal any additional information. But thank you for your time, and I appreciate your interest.
Dr. Blue, I have one more question. Is there a way to determine if this was accidental or deliberate?
You mean in the sense of a homicide?
Yes.
That would be up to law enforcement to make that determination.
Great, thank you.
Again, thank you all very much for your time.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
Gabby Petito, at just 22 years old, died of strangulation, according to the autopsy conducted by who you just heard from, Dr. Brent Blue of the Teton County Coroner's Office. An answer that tells us how she died. But so many of you here in the comments asking, will there ever be justice for Gabby? Hey there, folks. JB Buno here with you live on W.
All right, guys, I went ahead and muted it. If you guys want to watch what JB and them have to say, feel free at it. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take you guys. I would rather hear from you guys. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to drop the link, and I want to invite you guys to join me if you want to talk and say anything. I think that there it is. So please, if you want to be on panel, as long as you don't show me your hoo-ha, I'm good with it. No, I would like to hear your take. Thank you. My take is everything that I kind of said last night. You're not going to hear that much. I think that the manner of death, saying that it was strangulation, I think that it's very telling when you actually play this back, and the questions that he is not going to answer, he basically answers in a sense. There's a reason. It's like anything in life. You don't answer the hard questions. The cake ones. Oh yeah, I got this. I know I can say this. I mean, they prepped him for his press release. Trust me. I mean, he was prepped. So, but let's talk about the first thing, because I was taking notes over here. I was trying to type for you guys, those of you guys that maybe couldn't hear but wanted to see the comments. I just try to keep like pumping things. Bumblebee says, I thought it was the determination of death by the coroner cause of death. Yes, they said strangulation. So let's start with that. Yes, John Walsh got one thing right, guys. One thing. He said, you are the most important person. You are the most important witness in this case. Why don't you guys go back and look at exactly what I said the first time I did anything to do with this case? It says, Brent Blue, who are you? You are the coroner. You are the most important person. Don't take my word for it. Go back and see that live that I did. It is up there. And I'm actually very proud of it because it's the truth. And I said it a month ago. Your most important witness in this trial is going to be the coroner and being cross-examined by the defense. Because just like how they're going to have their professional. Now, my question is did they bring in a second person? If you guys are following any other cases, families do bring in, second opinions. I mean, that's not unheard of. Shannon says, I remember that live. Yes. And people were like, why is Lana talking about the coroner? It's like, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk about what Brian and Gabby ate while they were traveling. I think something that I would have asked that they didn't ask is, what can you talk about the contents in Gabby's stomach? I would like to know if there was any contents in her stomach. And my guess is they're not going to answer that, but even if they could answer it, probably nothing. Maybe questions about the organs, but they're not going to go into that. But that is something that is definitely going to be going into in a trial. I mean, he's not going to answer that now because it's not public knowledge, but everything that was asked today is going to be asked at a trial. So people that want to go crazy about where Brian is, if you want to be able to convict somebody and get justice for Gabby, it starts with the coroner. And I immediately did a live about it because I said that, is this guy qualified to do something like this and handle what's coming, whether it's in months or in years? There's hopefully going to be a trial so that Gabby gets justice, and this is going to be their main witness. Is Danny on here? Tell me Danny's here. Oh, is Danny here? Thank the Lord. Danny, you better come in chat, love, because I, first of all, love you. Second of all, I'm dropping the link just for Danny. There you go, love. How could they determine if it was a homicide so quickly in the beginning? If she was strangled, that wouldn't seem so obvious to me. Exactly, Canadian Mommy, and I'm going to go with this. I believe that her body was partially concealed. If you are trying to conceal a body, okay, you obviously are trying to hide something. You didn't do that yourself after you're dead. So I believe that there was that she was considered being partially, I don't want to use the term buried, but I want to say hidden. Am I missing if you were trying to be invited and you didn't hit my click? I'm at work, girls. I can't go live. You're in my ear. Oh my God. Oh, well, get in the bathroom, honey. John Walsh just wants to impress upon people in his opinion. John Walsh is being reckless as fuck. And you can quote me on that. Girl. Them's the facts. Okay, so let's go with some common sense type talk here. Okay, so 3 to 4 weeks is the time frame that they are using. 3 to 4 weeks. They're not going to talk anything that was talked about, the type of condition her body was in. But they did talk a little bit about the DNA, in that, from what I understood, that DNA was taken. I firmly believe, think about this, guys, a strangulation type death. I said it with Shanann, and I'm going to say it here, that your natural reaction is to, get somebody's hands off of you, okay? / get somebody off of you that is trying to strangle you. Unless, it happens from behind, that may be harder to do. If you are sleeping, that may be harder to do. But I'm hoping that there is DNA underneath Gabby's fingernails, and that is what can lead to, a conviction. But you have to look at it from the other side, and that would be Brian and Gabby being obviously a couple, and, if they were, let's just hypothetically say that they had sex that day. Just because you have sex with somebody that day, does that mean that you murdered them? You'd have to ask Amanda Knoxville about that. But I just believe that her fingernails, if there's different DNA underneath her fingernails, that's going to pause somebody. That's going to pause, Walsh going on there. And I mean, everybody in America knows that Brian did it. Bless you. I just don't think that anybody is given that right to get on there and act like that. And I just, sad. Dr. Blue and his timeline will set the narrative in this entire thing. Yes, me and Danny have talked extensively about this. That Dr. Blue, I mean, this is your guy if you're the prosecution. I mean, this is everything. And if it is not done properly, yada, 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 any type of defense, when they have their expert witness up there to say, this, that, and that, because they're going to have an expert to combat everything that Dr. Blue says. I mean, that was my struggle with the Sheldon Jeter Jr. case, and that his defense team chose not to have certain experts on the stand, and that's 100% ineffective counsel. But more importantly, I mean, how are you not spending the money when it's somebody's life on the line? But that's why I'm doing what I'm doing with my life. If Brian did it, Brian should pay the price. If somebody else did it, they should pay the price. But to not do thorough investigations and dot I's, cross T's, then you're part of the problem. Yeah, he does. Danny's talking about Dr. Blue here. People can laugh, but he's got a shady rep. That is fact. And that's why I posted this comment right here. You guys can go back and check. I've already done a live about it. I'll find out when Danny is available, and we'll have her live to talk about it. Did Brian return with the van without her? Did Brian fly home on the 16th or 17th without her? Yes. Was Gabby alive? Yes. Nobody is talking about that. He left once, she's alive. So then he just going to fly back and, you know what, I think I'm going to do it this time. That is, and why does not anybody want to talk about that? I agree to the moon and back that he embarrassed himself, and people that put him on his channel from here on out, that's embarrassing. And if I was Gabby's parents, I'm sorry, but like, I've been around grieving parents, and that's just, I wouldn't be okay if I was Gabby parents with John Walsh acting like that. Yes, she could have been strangled somewhere else, and that was asked. He did return with the van. There's no proof that, the van returned to Florida. They have not actually spoke on that, so the van is in Florida. He's in Florida. It's at the house he lives at. He's at the house. If that's what you're asking. She was dead outside for 3 to 4 weeks. That is correct. That is what he stated. That's fact from the coroner. I do believe, yes, she could have been strangled somewhere else. He would not answer that question when it was asked. He did not answer. Right. I wouldn't think twice if he arrived without her a second time and he was my brother. Yeah, because you did it the first time you came without her. That's all on whatever the plan was. I asked it last night, and I'm telling you guys, this is very important. and you hear it here first. Nobody wants to talk about the things that are important. If you are going and heading into a courtroom, this is what's going to be important. Your coroner's going to be important. I've already talked about that a month ago. The next things is everything leading up to it. Not even the day of. It is going to be everything leading up to it. And right now we don't even know the day of. But why did Brian leave? Was it a one-way ticket? How did he get to the airport? Who picked him up from the airport in Florida? Who took him to the airport in Florida? Then who picked him up in Utah? All of those questions are very, very important if I'm on the jury. And then obviously DNA, the surveillance that they have a ton of stuff, guys. There's a ton of stuff out there. They're just not releasing it. And right now the question's going to come up is, does the August 12th body cam footage that they released now, if you think about it, do you think that would have been released after she was found? That was released prior to, correct? I'm shocked that was actually released. I am saying, yes, he returned twice by himself alone. The first time was when he got on a plane and flew back on the 16th or the 17th. Then he flies back on the 23rd. Then he returns in the van, and this is what everybody talks about. When your boyfriend or fiance comes home after traveling the states, and he comes and returns without her, well, why aren't we talking about the time that he returned without her when he flew home in an airplane on the 16th or 17th? And it's because it's all about narratives. And shit, maybe I need to call in a JB here because I got some questions, JB. You think it's weird that he came home without her in the van? Well, I think it's weird that you're not talking about that he flew home and left her for a week by herself alone, and you guys want to claim that it was to move storage unit items? I mean, how people don't think that that's relevant, you're going to find out very, very soon that it is 100% relevant in terms of the dynamics surrounding why the Laundries have not been arrested at this point, because it didn't have anything to do with this. Because their son and Gabby went through a breakup. They broke up, he flew home because they were having problems. And guys, the evidence supports that. August 12th body cam supports the fact that they are not in a good state in their relationship. One of them was about to get arrested for domestic violence. And the person that was about to get arrested was Gabby. So guess what? Those cops are now going to be witnesses in this trial. Well, it is relevant, but we just don't know how it's relevant. I'm going to tell you how it's relevant. Why did Brian Laundrie fly home on a plane? That's the question. What's the answer? And your answer is going to come in, did he buy a one-way ticket to come home? Or did he buy a round-trip ticket? Was he intending to go back? If I'm breaking up with you because you kicked me out of the van and we keep on fighting and it's crazy and I just need to, Gabby, we need to leave. We need to go back home. This is not working. We cannot do this anymore. Okay? And no, I'm staying here. I still want to go to California and we just have a couple more spots and then come on, it's fine. Everything's going to be fine. Everybody knows how that goes. And then he's like, okay, it's fine. Okay. And then they have another blow up and then it's okay, it's fine. And then they have another blow up. So then yes, he flies back home. Why? And then why did he fly back? Those are all very important questions. And I think it's going to be crucial to know if he took a one-way trip and then had to buy another one-way trip. When did he purchase his ticket to fly home? Was it purchased the day before? Okay. If your dad's asking you to move stuff out of a storage unit, hey, let's plan this out, because why would you buy a ticket a day before to go do that if you've known about it for a month? You're going to plan to buy your ticket ahead of time and save yourself a lot of money. The reason that question is not being answered is because nobody is asking that question. And those are the facts. I just live streamed JB and company the first 30 minutes before we got started, if not longer. And he gives this timeline, guys. He has this timeline. And he never even mentions in the timeline that he came home, that he flew home and then he flew back. How is that not on your timeline? How is that not on your timeline? And that is what you call agenda reporting. That is what you call, that's your narrative. That's your narrative. Do you think people are going to watch JB if he starts, quote unquote, what people were going to say is, oh, you're victim bashing? No, you're not victim bashing. You're trying to get to the facts. And what is so wrong about getting to the facts? Yes, not everybody is necessarily going to buy a ticket ahead of time. Correct. But digital evidence around it. There's going to be text messages of his dad saying, hey, what time does your plane arrive? When are you getting here? Text messages. There's going to be digital evidence of his phone, okay? Whether or not he has that phone or not, they will go in and get his phone records, of which they're going to tell you towers, okay? That the phone, when the call originated. I mean, those of you guys that have followed the Chris Watts case, phone records. Where was Nicole Kessinger when she made phone calls? I just think that you're not, all you need to do here is do some more following up with the facts around it. So how does the reason he came home and went back change things? Okay. It changes things if you want to deem Brian's parents involved. That's how it changes things. People are crucifying Brian's parents. Well, if Brian is my son and he calls me and tells me that on August 12th, you're never going to believe this, but we got pulled over, and tells me about the story. What's going on? You guys need to come home. If that stuff's going on, like, what do you mean? Then they keep bickering. Things aren't right. Brian's like, we need to drive back. Like, we can't do this anymore. We keep fighting. Let's just go. No, this is my van. If Brian then calls his parents and says, hey, I'm flying back. I can't do this anymore, so I'm flying back. He flies back because he tells his parents that he can't do this anymore and that they broke up. So Brian's parents are under the assumption that they broke up. Then he says, Dad, help me move Gabby's stuff into the storage unit. That way when she gets back here, she can have her stuff. I'm only saying this as why a parent would not question when he came back with the van without her. This is your only scenario in that happening. And that would be if my son told me that him and his girlfriend or fiance, whatever they were at the time, broke up. And if you're actually telling me that the police pulled you over and they were about to arrest her, but then they didn't, but they had to separate us, so I had to stay in a issued hotel room. If you guys want to talk about parents, what parent wouldn't be like, what the fuck is going on? What do you mean you guys got pulled over and they're just talking about domestic violence? Like, put yourself in that situation if you're a parent. If you're just going to be like, oh, well, whatever, sounds great, have a good day. Well, then that's how you parent, but that's not how I would parent. I would be like, what the heck? So the next time that I would hear a phone call saying that you guys broke up, it would make sense to me that you guys broke up because, yeah, you guys are fighting. Stuff isn't right. So then he flies home. Then my son says to me, I need to go back out there. Gabby keeps calling, and she needs me to come get this van, and I'm going to drive this van back, and she's going to fly back to New York. If my son says that to me, you know, I can't just leave her out there. She's been out. Let me just go get this van. You know, I'll see if she wants to, you know, drive back with me or whatever, but, you know, I don't want to get in any trouble, but let me just go get this van and bring it back. To me, I'd be like, okay, one thing that I maybe would have offered is be like, well, do you want me to come with you? Maybe I need to come with you. I also would probably reach out to Gabby, to be completely honest, and say, honey, what's going on? Are you okay? Like, regardless what's going on with you and Brian, I also want to make sure you're okay. He's home here now. You're there. Are you with friends? Are you by yourself? What's going on? That's the type of conversations. That's what I would do. But I'm also involved. So if I'm a parent and Brian tells me he's going out there back to bring this van back because she's flying back to New York or she's supposed to come, if he arrives back without her in the van and says, Mom, I got out there, then we start arguing again. I couldn't do it anymore. So then I told her just, yeah, take the plane. I'm going to take the van because I don't want to get in any trouble. If my son says those words, why wouldn't I believe him? He's already come back once flying because of it. There was a domestic violence on August 12th. That to me is everything in the fact of why people need to back off the Laundrie family, because that is logic. And then if they're not like me and they just don't get involved when their son says, hey, Mom, don't get involved, I'm dealing with it, that is logic. But they deliberately ignored her parents. Again, this is hearsay. I want to see where the deliberation of ignoring someone's parents. And I'm going to tell you this. If I'm ignoring someone's parents, it's not because at that point I'm doing something sinister. It's I'm not getting involved. And it depending on what type of message you're leaving on my cell phone. I mean, Gabby's dad has done interviews. He'll tell you he was calling Brian Brianna or Bran or Bry or whatever. I mean, that's belittling somebody, okay? So if I don't have a good relationship with the person that my son dates' parents, them calling me during the midst of my son's breakup with his girlfriend that I'm staying out of, that just means I'm staying out of it. How are his parents to know that them staying out of something isn't just that? Why would his parents ever in a million thousand years think that Gabby is harmed and is deceased? We're not talking about somebody being guilty or not. That's not about that. We're talking about Brian's parents going through a lawyer and choosing to remain silent because their lawyer told them to do that, and people want to crucify them for that. Then now, guess what? Let law enforcement actually do their job like they're supposed to and put together the case that they're supposed to so that Gabby gets the justice that she is supposed to. I'm tits up. Thank you. And the logic now of him in hiding, again, you'd have to go back and listen to everything that I've been talking about. To say that Brian Laundrie is hiding, that is speculation. Okay? Brian came home with a van, guys. Brian got into a van. Why wouldn't Brian disappear September 1st or August 30th or 28th? I mean, why would Brian get in her van, drive it across the country, then kick it? So was he hiding and running? No, he didn't. He drove this van back. He's at home on the 1st. He is there helping out with lawn duty. His neighbors see him. Then he goes camping. His sister, comes and has dinner. Where is Brian running and hiding? He isn't. He's not running and hiding. And this is where it's unprecedented. This is uncharted waters. Okay? This is Brian coming home with the van, with all their belongings. And when people say, oh, it was parked in the garage, well, yeah, because all this shit that was in there, I'll tell you how I would feel about that. Why would I park a vehicle that has a bunch of shit that if it gets broken into, we're going to lose all of this shit that's in here? And then if they had this type of breakup, well, Brian, you better put that van in the garage because I'm not losing all my stuff if someone breaks into it. And then Brian's like, yeah, Mom and Dad, we need to park this in the garage because she is going to, I'm not getting blamed if stuff is missing and yada, yada, yada. Is that a normal conversation to have with somebody? You know how particular Gabby is. Can I please just park the van in the garage until she gets here to pick it up? Or if I have to meet her in New York because we're going to load up the van with all of her stuff from the house because we broke up. I mean, we're talking about the same guy that was like, take me instead to go to jail. We're talking about law enforcement that is trained to catch and to pick up on things. And this guy didn't deem it as a domestic violence situation. It was mental health. And I do believe that it was mental health. And people weren't taking their medicine. That's what I believe. So Brian's home. He's just hanging out. Did Brian run yet? No. Nope. Oh, and then, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm going to go hiking. Did he say, is it normal for Brian to go when he goes? I mean, he's a 23-year-old. Does he have to ask Mom and Dad for their permission to do anything? No. I remember when I moved home from college, right after college, I moved in with my mom, and it was it was weird at first, because it's like, wait a second, I've been living on my own here now for the past 5 years. You're not going to ask me where I'm going, or who I'm hanging out with. But yet, that's just normal, though, for, even, your roommate to ask you that. Oh, hey, girl, are you coming back home later? That's just talk. But then on top of it, your parents asking that question. Again, that's all on their type of relationship. But there is zero evidence that the parents have anything to do with anything. And if you want to say that Brian ran, no, Brian went hiking and never returned. Brian went hiking with a backpack and never came home. And that was the same day that Gabby's father came to Brian's parents' house knocking on the door. Those are the facts. And then Brian is reported missing because Brian never returned home. And this is all before Gabby's body was ever found. This is your timeline. And for any parent to think that their kid killed somebody else in cold blood, if you would ever think that of your child, then I pray for you, because I don't even know what that's like to think like that. Yes, Danny, I've said this as well. Think about this. Why wait to run? Anyone could have found her at any moment if it was BL that killed her. So why on earth wouldn't he run immediately straight to Mexico or Panama or Cuba? It makes zero sense. Exactly. To a logical person, it makes zero sense. And everybody wants to say that Brian's some like mastermind. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? Maybe he is, because the way that he did this, it looks that way. Or maybe Brian has a bullet in his head and he's buried 6 feet under somewhere. And this is all to cover all of that up. Brian was seen by numerous people coming back. Obviously, he had to stop and get gas. He had to get food on his way back from, taking this van back. And all the logic goes out the window. And when people want to say, well, why did Brian run? Brian went hiking. He did not know that Gabby was missing. If, in fact, Brian didn't do this, he's trying to call Gabby, and Gabby's not answering. He's wondering why Gabby hasn't called him, because Gabby's calling him all the time. So then he calls her, or tries to call her. I haven't gotten a hold of her. We would have to know the past of their relationship. Did they ever have breakups like this? How did things go? Yada, yada, yada. But to sit here and say, that Brian ran, that is, that doesn't make sense with me. And you have to think that if the parents, like her dad and her mom, were calling their parents, his parents, and his phone, and leaving messages like, where are you? I can't find Gabby. Then why wouldn't have he left earlier? Then why wouldn't he be on the, I'm going to call the police. We're going to call the police. And then you have to ask yourself this question, which is, I would never think that my daughter was in Florida. I would think that she was out west somewhere. So where am I supposed to start looking for her? And even her dad says that in the beginning, in the early stage. Well, I wish they would just tell us where we should start looking. Where's the last time, like, Brian, just, tell us where's the last time that you saw her, or whatever. And I think what the media was missing there is that Brian couldn't say that because Brian had already left and never came back. So I think that where there may be some untruths happening is if his dad or mom lawyered him up while he was missing. When the lawyer says, well, how did Brian reach out to you? Via the phone. Well, was it in fact Brian that, lawyered Brian up? And so I just, but there was no media coverage. There was no media happening when Brian left. He wasn't wanted across every news station with his face saying wanted. That's not the case. Brian had already went hiking. And then this stuff comes out days later when, those are the facts. Now, does that mean that Brian is innocent? No. But don't not report the facts. Even after hearing everything that I'm telling you, and Brian's the boyfriend or the fiance, whatever they were at the time, he is still prime suspect in any time that your significant other is victim of a homicide. You become suspect number one. I just don't like when the facts aren't reported properly. Watts didn't run either. Scott Peterson didn't run either. I mean, what? Or did he? Can his parents lawyer him up? Doesn't he need to do that himself? That's where I would say that's where like the question mark would lie. Is, well, you're our family attorney. Brian's still on our insurance. Brian still has medical insurance. So that's maybe, I'd have to look into that. Yeah, he could be dead. And I think that if he was, to be dead, that that's something to me that makes more sense. And after seeing the behavior of Gabby's dad, he reminds me of my dad, because my dad would be the same way. If my dad lived close to where Brian's parents and my daughter and him resided, and my dad can't get a hold of me, okay, well, let me go. What made them go to the parents' house? And the first thing that would come to my mind is, well, I can't get a hold of Gabby, I can't get a hold of Brian, and now I've called his parents and I can't get a hold of them. So I'm just going to go over there and knock on the door and ask them, have you talked to Brian or Gabby? That would be why I would be going over to their house. That would be it. I wouldn't be going there thinking anything else other than that. I mean, obviously, I'd be thinking something's up. Have you talked to them? I'd be wondering if maybe somebody didn't pay a cell phone bill, if they weren't on my plan, something like that. But I would go to the parents' house. I would not be going to his parents' house thinking, what the fuck did your kid do with my daughter? That's not how I would be going over there. I'd be going over there as, hey, have you talked to Brian and Gabby? Because we haven't been able to get a hold of anybody in days. And now the question is that how Gabby's father went over there? And did he, do it that way? Well, what's hard about the bigger channels is that when you just stream the mainstream media, like, I mean, I'm sorry, but that was so painful. I mean, I was trying to put my 2 cents in there. Listening to JB's timeline, I mean, that was painful to listen to, because regardless of who did what, where, when, why, you are not reporting the facts, and that's unfortunate, and that's fact. But then I also realized in this very short tenure of me wanting to help wrongfully convicted people is that truth doesn't sell, guys. Truth doesn't have watchers. Going and fact finding and doing the research and case law and this, that, and the other to put together appeals and petitions for, none of that is glam. When it becomes glamorous is when it works, and then everybody wants, when this person's walking out because of all the work that was behind the scenes. But nobody wants to, be part of the grind, because it's not glamour. That's not what's glam. And that's not where the money is. And I think it shows in the viewership, because if you take the whole United States and the whole world and you do a percentage of IQs, why do you think people like Jerry Springer made a fucking killing? He ran for mayor of Cincinnati. Okay? Jerry Springer banged my roommate in my fucking house during college. And I need to go find my old recordings of when I come down the stairs, back in the day. This is a true story. I'm coming down the stairs to my house, and we had an old school phone, so you had like an actual voice, answering machine. And we would always look at it and we would hit it, and then everybody was supposed to like save messages so that everybody else could hear, and it was normally like your parents were calling, or, your landline. And over here I hear, "Hey, Ashley, it's me, Jerry Springer." And I'm like, what the fuck? Well, we had seen him the night before out at the place that she managed at this Blind Lemon. I wonder if it's still up there cooking in Mount Adams. And of course, I immediately called her on her cell phone, and I was like, "Ashley, where are you?" She's like, "Not at class, slut." And I was like, "Okay, well, where are you?" And I was like, "Well, because you have a really important message here. Jerry Springer wants to know what you're doing later." And I was dying, and she'll never live it down. And I was like, "Did you bang Jerry Springer in our house? Like, what's wrong with you?" And she's like, "No way, he called." I was like, "Yeah, you gave him our landline?" But people are sitting at home on unemployment or disability or this, that, and the other, and that's what they're watching. That's what's on the television. And then they're going to watch free YouTube channels. So, yeah, and guys, I'm going to look for it. But, yeah, Jerry Springer and my roommates, and to this day, I mean, she hasn't come full clean with it, but she maybe, you know what, I'm going to get her on one of my lives. She did some work with ESPN. All my roommates were soccer players, and I was the only outcast with my athletic abilities being the opposite direction. But people, you know, don't want to use their brains to think or, you know, do what it takes to actually be like that's just not, it's all about sensationalism, and it's just, that's what it is. Oh yeah, Jerry Springer. Athletes got treated really, really well at the University of Cincinnati. So Monday nights we'd be hanging out with the Bengals and the Reds, and at Pachinko's over there across the river. Good times had by all. Mom receives final text from Gabby's phone on August 30th, but can't confirm it was actually Gabby. Yeah, because it was really weird. At the end of the day, nobody wants to believe that our kids are capable of the unthinkable, which in my mind is taking the life of someone else. Nobody wants to believe that. I had a friend on Jenny Jones. I don't think he banged her, though. You know, her dad said he moved to Florida to be closer to Gabby. It's so sad. She didn't reach out to her dad. She was probably so determined to finish this trip. You know, again, I try to check all emotions at the door, and I got to put myself, okay, when I was 22 and 23, like what was I getting myself into? And this one time when I was 21, actually, I was 20, sophomore year, after basketball practice, I get a call, and it's, hey, Peter Warwick is having people over. Well, Peter Warwick played football for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I remember him from his days at Florida State. And I was like, oh, Warwick, no way. I was like, are you guys really going to go over there? I was like, who are you guys going with? Well, two of the guys that ran AAU programs in Cincinnati, who we would always help, coach the inner city school kids. We would try to basically like go up to some practices, work with the kids. We did it all for free. And it was just part of the program that we had with as athletes giving back to the community. And so we go to Peter Warwick's house. And of course, I am one of two, I think, white girls that are going from our team. And we're not supposed to be going. We have curfew. And we arrive, it's a big mansion. We arrive, and literally I get pulled, like 3 guns on me. And I've never seen a gun in my life to this point. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And this dude then lifts up his shirt, and he's got like, and I was like, Carolyn, where the fuck did you take us? And I'm like, oh my God, today's the day. Like, this is my day. God said. And I literally was in a situation that something bad could have happened, but there's all these guns laying around, NFL players all over. And I'm just like, oh my God, please just let me make it through 3 hours, and then we can go home, and I will never do this again. Please, God, please, God. But when I think of situations of when I was younger, of things that I put myself into, could that have been a horrible, day? Yeah. So I think that when you're 22 and 23, you don't realize what you can get into, and how I would do something at my age right now, you can't say that for Brian or for Gabby. And what's logical, you know, you can't say for Brian or for Gabby, but what you can say is logical for adult parents that have experienced life like Brian's parents. That's something that we can put ourselves into if we are parents. And Brian flying or you know, driving the van out there as they went on this trip, then Brian flying home because of their problems and their breakup, and then Brian flying back to go get this van and then coming back alone because that was the plan. If I am Brian's parents, I have no reason whatsoever to doubt any of that. None of that, especially after knowing about the August 12th domestic violence pullover. Yeah, who knows? He may have been there. But it's people need to back away from, and that's my whole thing, is fight for a family. Fight for a family. Please leave Brian's parents alone. And that's something that John Walsh is guilty of. He has attacked them. Literally attacked them. And just to see it, you know, those call-ins that we just listened to, you know, an hour ago, that is just really disappointing to see in somebody that you're supposed to have a lot of respect for, and that you want to give a lot of credit to in how he's helped families. But then he pulled like a Natasha, and he was bragging about, yeah, 1,400, you know, I've done this and I've done that. Well, I don't care if you've saved 1 million people. It doesn't give you the right to do what you were doing to these parents. And if you know something that we don't, John Walsh, then I suggest that you be quiet so that the proper investigation can happen and that they can then be held accountable. Oh my gosh, Sky, how are ya? Been thinking about you, lady. Hope you're doing well. My Cincinnati love right there. Sky, I love you, girl. Empathy is not in the vocabulary of a narcissist. So when people want to say that Lana's a narcissist, I laugh. Because the first the word that's going to pop up when you hear that is incapable of empathy. And that to me is anybody that wants to use that term to describe me, I laugh immediately because I say, well, you must not know the definition of the word. And maybe you should know it before you use it. So again, yes, obviously Brian is suspect number one, as anybody is in this situation. Now that we know the manner of death, which is strangulation, we also want to, you assimilate strangulation with what, and that's a very personal killing. But I question one thing here with that. You are in the middle of nowhere. So what are your means to, I was reading the comments before this came out and it said, oh, it was a very violent death. Very violent. And there was all this blood and people were talking about gunshots and, but, strangulation comes out as being the manner. So, but you're in the wilderness. You're. What other ways besides? I mean, there's also going to be they said 3 to 4 weeks that she was out in the wild. They wouldn't comment more on, if the body was moved, if the body wasn't moved. They wouldn't comment on if something was used. They also said that, because of Wyoming and their rules, that's why things aren't being, released. Oh, well, thank you. I tend to think I do as well. Sky sent me a tit ball stress release and made my day when I got that in the mail. It's pretty funny. Yes, and they did say that there was, Danny, he was very well prepped. I believe Mr. Brent Blue, I think, was very prepped for this. I think he did actually a great job. I think he was very direct. He didn't stutter. He was very just, hey, I'm answering the questions that I can, and I'm not answering the questions that I can't. And I thought actually he did a great job with the press conference. I will say that, definitely a great job. I didn't think he was nervous at all. Now, does that mean that his findings are, and what they have, everybody knows, just because you're a talker and you can PR doesn't mean that, but I just think that he handled himself, very well, and he didn't pay special attention to, people like Ashley Banfield, people like John Walsh, kept it moving. But we all know how Zoom works, so that they had to double click on John Walsh to give him, I guess, like another go at it. I don't know. I'm excited to have Danny with me when we do this panel here. I have no problem giving out the information that we have found on Mr. Blue. Said it from day one, did a live about it. John Walsh got one thing right, guys, and that was, right now the prosecution's star witness is him, and I said that a month ago. Me and Danny's had a long conversation about it. And it was just funny when people wanted to comment in my live saying, why are you talking about the coroner? That's when I know you don't know shit about anything to do with an investigation, trial, nothing. And that's where it's just like, go back to Natasha Cooper's channel. Go back to Linda Briss's channel. Please, I want people watching that if you ask a question, it's because you really want to know. Just like when I ask a question, I really want to know. I want to know if that plane ticket was a round trip ticket or if it was a one way to leave and then it was a one way to go back there. I want to know that. If I was a prosecutor, if I was a defense attorney, that is very, very important in how I would either have to defend against that or for that, but that's very important. When the Supreme Court judge says questions needed to be asked about his conduct. Yes. And I think this is all going to come up, and that's why I did that episode, and I'm glad that it's there. I'm glad that it's dated, and like I said, we're going to talk about things that other people don't talk about. And if there's only 3 people watching, great. But one day I know that there's going to be a ton of people finally seeing the light. Life isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. You come in contact with adversity all the time in life, and it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to what happens to you in life. If you're going to teach your kids anything about that, teach them that it's about how you react. We all know that as growing up, being in a car with your siblings, and your sibling does something to you, but you react and do something, you're the one that, well, no, that's because they did this. Everything in life is about how you react, how you bounce back. But my reasoning for having a channel, guys, it'll always be to help people and the people that I am helping is everything to do with El Copa at the moment. But I also see all of you guys, and you guys want to follow, some current event cases. And so I'm asking you guys to be part of my journey. So then in turn, I'm going to, hey, let's talk about something that I know that a lot of people want to talk about. Everything in life is give and take. Amen, Mod Squad. Love you. Love you. Judies. Where are my Judies at? There's one of my softball teams that are called the Judies. God, I can't wait to post that picture of my Judies. Great question. Who's being the best wife right now? I'm baking brownies for the hubs, and they smell so good. I'm doing no carbs. Are those weed brownies? Because you should mail some to Jay for Justice. All right, so this is going to conclude my live with all of you guys. We were told now the manner. They also gave me, I said the most important thing I wanted to hear is I wanted to hear that time. And they gave, 3 to 4 weeks from the time that they found Gabby. So if you're going to go 3 to 4 weeks, guys, you have to go, 21 to 28 days is how I would view 3 to 4 weeks. 7 times your 3 is your 21. 7 times your 4 is your 28. That's how I would do that. And so you're looking at if she was found on the 19th of September, you're looking at August 30th to possibly August 23rd. Is that correct? Great question. Did anybody else come up with a different timeline there? I came up with August 23rd to August 30th, based on their 3 to 4 weeks. So I went off of 21 days and 28 days. I'm gonna post that. You're very welcome. Mental and dreads. You're very welcome for that. I try to stick to the facts. So I believe that based on them saying 3 to 4 weeks, she was found on the 19th. And so we're looking at time of death would then be August 23rd through August 30th. Is that what you guys came up with? Where's all my math whizzes here? I think that's right. Tonight, I'm hoping that all of you guys join me for the live follow-up to episode 3 of Sunset Secrets Season 2. It's the Mojo Effect. It's Jamie Brown's case, which he was convicted in 2001 of killing a police officer. Jamie Brown is 100% innocent, and my podcast is proving my investigation in real time with my pre-recorded episodes on Sunday, and then the live chat about the Sunday episode comes on Tuesday, which is tonight. So I hope you guys can come back and join me, ask your questions, follow along. Tonight's live chat will start at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. Again, so my timeline here is time of death would be August 23rd through August 30th. And then you're going to take into account go with, when did the YouTubers see the van? And just because you saw the van, doesn't mean that Gabby was alive. Again, so you guys take care. Again, join me back here, 9:30 Eastern. There is already a live that you can get your notification. Be kind in chat, love. And yeah, I'm going to go with the time of death that they were basically giving us today was 3 to 4 weeks. And so we're looking at August 23rd through August 30th. And then you just want to look at two main things here, which is Brian being home back on September 1st and when the sighting of the van was from the YouTube. I think it's a great question right there. Was the 23rd the last time that her mom talked to her? I remember that was the last definite time anyone talked to her. Also, I want to point out is when did Brian return from Florida, and fly back? Be kind in chat, love. Love you guys. See you soon.